APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence, Collision Specialists, 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence. Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs. Call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships. The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite 4-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops? Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Ho, 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 here we are. We are live, Mr. Mike. What's going on?
Hey, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me on this little special occasion. Reason I asked you guys to join me coming off a Thursday show, Lee Cole, who, we consider a friend of the show. Definitely, by the way, forgive me for my camera. I had some camera issues here. So I'm like built in a circle. But Lee was not happy with our guest on last Thursday. And so be it, whatever. You can't make everybody happy, right? But Lee decided to do a video yesterday. And I'll ask you guys to share in about our show and about what we said. And it really didn't bother me, guys. But then I got some emails from Lee that were disturbing and disappointing. And I seriously didn't appreciate it. So I thought we'd take a few moments just to discuss Thursday's show, discuss the actual Mel Phillips deal and the Terry Garvin deal, and see where you guys come from. We really haven't spoke about it, right? You guys are doing different shows.
Nope,
we all watch each other's shows. And I wanted to get you guys to weigh in on the Mel Phillips deal and see what you guys thought. Obviously, we understand that this is a very tricky situation. At no point are we defending anybody. Are we saying anybody's right, wrong, or indifferent? But you know what? I want to hear from you guys because we haven't spoken. So have at it. It's all you guys. I want to know your guys' thoughts.
Well, I actually prepared a little promo here if I could. And nobody will ever
always prepared. The play is
I'm prepared. Yeah, I was never a Boy Scout either, but I'm prepared. So nobody will ever accuse me of being a Vince McMahon fan. But I'm on the show tonight. Number one, to support Mike because he's my friend and this is a great channel. But I want to point out what I think are glaring differences between Lee Cole / Wrestling with the Devil and Monty and the Pharaoh. In my opinion, Mike and Jimmy have something that Lee Cole will never have, and that is journalistic integrity. Mike had Lee on several weeks back to present his point of view on Vince McMahon and the Mel Phillips Ring Boy scandal. And on Thursday, Mike had Gerard Millette, who had an opposing point of view. Now, if I knew nothing about wrestling or podcasting or anything else, and I just clicked on Mike's interview and Mike and Jimmy's interview with Gerard Millette, and I just clicked on it, I never would have known Mike's personal feelings on this issue. The interview is conducted totally without bias. Now, this is something you will never, ever see or you'll never get with Lee Cole. And one other thing I wanted to say, because I watched Lee's show yesterday, and he just, throughout his broadcast, he just taunted the channel, bragging about the number of people in the chat. I think it got up to about 150. But my opinion, again, bigger is not always better. And as an example, in 1978, there was a guy named James Jones in South Africa, had a crowd of over 900 people listening to him one night. They hung on his every word. And guess how many people out of those 900 had a beating heart the next day? So if you get 0, you win the door prize. And I'm not trying to compare Lee Cole to Jim Jones. What I'm trying to say is sometimes many gullible people will follow the wrong message. So I would take the 10 or 12 or 15 people in this chat room in a heartbeat over the 150 people he had last night, because the people that we have every week, or several times a week, are true people and friends.
Right.
Well done. Well said, player. Well said. Now, Joe What a Day, he's new to the channel, but you could clearly see by the way he speaks, his presentation, this guy is professional, right? And so, Joe, I want to ask you, being new to the channel, I understand it's wrestling, but this is beyond wrestling, right? This is legitimate lives lost. This is accusations of pedophilia in some cases.
Sure.
I want to know what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I'll be totally honest with you. I do recall the Ring Boy scandal back in the day, but I was early family guy, married, all that stuff. So I took it, like it was a headline and that was it. After doing some research and so forth, and listening to Thursday night's broadcast, I felt kind of both ways here. Loyalty is always a big thing with me. You got to be loyal. People of this channel are loyal. The people that work for you, Mike, everybody who contribute to this channel are loyal. Now, I felt bad was it Gerard Millette that was on Thursday night? He had a very nervous disposition, and I felt like people were defending him or mocking him in the chat and so forth. And I felt bad because that took the total focus off the story we were really trying to convey here. There was a situation that happened or may not have happened. We were trying to find the truth in all that. Sometimes things gets lost in the truth, and things can be perceived a certain way and so forth. And in this day of social media, you could say the sky is blue, and you're going to get 10,000 people to say no, I think it's not blue. It's fuchsia or whatever. What I did not know that Gerard Millette grew up in my home state. I was born and raised in Quincy, 8 miles south of Boston. He was going to the matches same time I was going to the matches. I didn't have those encounters like Lee did. Gerard did. But it looks like he caught on to a circuit, a carnival type circus back then. That's how it was. This is how we look at that industry back then. It still is kind of like that, especially the indies. It's a carnival circus atmosphere. Either you stick to the good people or you don't, or you're going to get lost. And you know, depending on who you believe. Now, I don't know this Lee Cole guy. I really don't know. I've heard more about Lee Cole in the last week or so since his broadcast. And if he's going on his show and just discrediting our channel for trying to get to the truth of a matter that is more than wrestling, wrestling just happens to be the backdrop of this whole thing. I don't see why he's doing that. I don't see nothing to gain for that. And if he's looking for viewers, you could talk about 10,000 other things right now and lie about it and get 10,000 times more viewers.
Yeah.
Why he's coming after us in the morning, I have no idea. I know nothing about this guy except for what you guys have told me, what I have seen so far. I'm not impressed. And quite frankly, these guys will fail in the long run, but not until he makes a couple of bucks off some lies. And that's usually what happens. So that was
let me give you some background, Joe and Benny, right? So we knew about the Tom Cole situation, and we ran into Lee Cole years ago. Lee, obviously the brother of Tom Cole. Sure. They lost a family member. It was right off the time, I believe that Tom hung himself.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously the family was in despair. So we had Lee on the show, and Lee told his story.
Sure.
And I will tell you that
is that Lee Cole calling right now?
No, it's Gerard calling. It's Gerard calling. Like every.
He's like the cable guy.
Oh my God, cable guy.
Yes.
So, you know, family despair, but you know, there were plenty of holes in Lee's story. And what I mean by that is, let's talk about Tom. All right. Okay. We don't know what happened with Tom and Garvin and our Mel, right? But these are the things we do know. We do know that Tom Cole had brain cancer.
Okay.
We do know that Tom Cole took his life.
Okay.
For what I understand, Tom married with children, did very well for himself. And, you know, and out of nowhere, after he kills himself, the way we do things here in wrestling and maybe in the world is also we put down what happened when the guy was 18 years old.
Right.
We never were told, either by his sister, who we also had in studio, well-spoken, very intelligent lady. Okay. Sure. We don't know what Tom went through. No, you know, again, it's not there. They don't have to tell us what went through, right?
Right.
But we don't know what he went through. We do know that he was of age when this situation came on with Mel Phillips. Okay. That's not saying it's okay, but the whole pedophile thing is thrown out the window. Okay. Now we could talk about the same sexual harassment thing that we're going through with Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant right now. That falls into those lines, but let's not blur the lines here. And then the reality, now I've had Tom on, Leon 3 times.
Okay.
Tom was approached, he got mad, and he went to the van. That is the story we got. That is it, all 3 times.
When you say, what do you mean when you say when he went to the van? Is that what
he was approached, got angry, and left, and went and stayed in his van. And then he was fired, right? And then he was fired. Okay, which we know is wrong, right? If leadership fires you over you not accepting sexual advances, totally get that.
Right.
But that's the story we got. So this whole pedophilia thing, and you know, until you get more of the story, to me it makes no sense. And I mean, I will tell you that the dirt sheets grabbed onto this also, because Lee did have another ring boy on. If you bear with me, guys. Yeah. And this ring boy, let me just quote what this ring boy said.
How many ring boys were there total?
There seemed to be plenty of them, and I think Gerard supposedly was the last one.
The last one, yeah.
So that whole weird thing, when we call it ring boys, if they were hiring people that were 14 years old, there's something wrong there too, right?
Right.
There's certainly something. But again, we know the traveling circus, right? It's like, you're a promoter. You're the promoter in Boston. You're running our event. You're renting out WWE wrestlers. What you're doing is what you're doing. Now, you could say Vince is ultimately responsible for this. Absolutely. Ultimately. But let's not get stupid and think that every CEO of a company understands everything that's going on, especially in such a giant conglomerate. And and the zoo that is pro wrestling. But let me just read this. This is what the One Ring Boy said. The one thing Mel had this thing about your feet. He would wrestle you, grab your toes, and bend them. Then you'd be like, that's probably where it started. I didn't think about it. That guy is trying to make me submit to this wrestling hold. That's where it started. Yeah, he would do that and put your foot in his crotch, or he would sit on top. I'd be on the bottom. I'm almost like sitting on my legs, pulling my toes and stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Go ahead. Take it from there. I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what that means. I mean, are they wrestling? Are they fooling around? I don't know. Player, what do you got on this? I
want to go back to what one of the things that Lee Cole said last night when he called Mike every name in the book, and he said that he, meaning Mike, said that he called his brother a liar. I listened to the entire interview today with Gerard Millette, and there was not Mike never called Tom Cole a liar. It was Gerard that did. So he got all his facts wrong. I mean, I've never heard anybody speak for 75 minutes and say absolutely nothing.
Yeah, word salad. Is there any
because he's grabbed onto the Vince McMahon thing and he's not letting go. I mean, do you understand? Okay, I'm sorry, but the sheep that are following him right now, I don't even get it, but they're following him right now. When you're going to go on and you're going to start pointing the finger at Vincent Kennedy McMahon for the murder, the travesty that Chris Benoit performed on his family.
That was the other thing.
You're out of line. You're out of line.
It's out of line. It's unprofessional. It's borderline. Yeah. Just get off the air already. I don't understand that. The name calling. I mean, that sounds like anger to me, and that usually stems from something that has something wrong with himself, and that's probably why he is lying and he's getting mad about it.
Well, this is not a man. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mensa. That's the IQ Society, and Mensa will never knock on Lee Cole's door.
Right.
The other thing that happened in the
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Lee Cole will never be in Houston pushing buttons for NASA. But the thing Bruce actually said in the chat room, and of course he got put immediately in timeout, is why will you not debate Mike Monty? And he did read the comment, Lee, and he said, well, I don't debate pedophilia. Well, first of all, based on what Mike said, if the kid was 18, that's not pedophilia. But nobody, he was implying that Mike advocates pedophilia, which nothing is further than the truth. We're not debating pedophilia. We're debating what Mel Phillips did. So he spun everything. What was that band in the 90s? The Spin Doctors? Maybe Lee Cole jammed with them or something like that.
Two Princes? Yeah, something like that. I just don't understand why he can keep doing this without, like I said, debate Mike Monty. That's the only way you can clear the air. The glorious fair always gets to the bottom of everything.
I want to be fair. Lee wrote me and he said now he wants to debate. And my thing was, debate what? I am not defending Mel Phillips. Okay. Right. I don't know. I can't. What am I debating? Here's what I can debate.
Sure.
I will say this. I'll debate the fact that you now are bludgeoning Vince McMahon at the best of your ability to get a bunch of views and make some money. And good for you. If it's working and it seems to be working, I'm happy for the guy, right? He deserves some success. This is a guy who went to jail for a long time. Let's get realistic here.
Okay.
He took, by the way, Gerard is texting me. He has a bunch of stuff. Gerard's fired up.
Do I got to send him a link? Do you want to bring him back on?
Yeah, no, we got it. He's fine.
All right.
I lost my train of thought. So he went to jail.
Right.
He took $20,000 from the WWE. Again, in one hand, when he was on the show, he's like, hey, if Janelle Grant took the money, she's guilty. Well, then you're guilty, right? You took the money, right? You accepted. Are you, I wrote, are you you're not brother's keeper? Are you not your brother's keeper? Was $20,000 good enough to sell your brother down the river if this is what happened?
What was the $20,000 for?
Just to shut up.
Oh, shut up.
And, again, Jimmy says it all the time. Think about it, guys. We're not privileged enough to have that kind of money. But I would tell you, if I had millions of dollars and someone wanted to call me for sexual harassment and it wasn't worth my time, here, take some money, go away, sign this form, gotta go. Right? I think everybody would do that, right?
That's the end result anyway, sure. It's
absolutely. There is a time value of monetary value of your time. Like, why are you going to spend wasted time when you can make it go away with it? With what is to you a few bucks. Absolutely.
Right. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is, he doesn't want to debate pedophilia and all that stuff. From what I've seen or heard so far, it sounds like you put ring boy scandal together that, you automatically think pedophilia. And to me, unless they're 14, 15-year-old boys being forced into sexual encounters with older men or women or whatever you have, especially in that type of environment, then it's pedophilia. But when you're 18 or older and all that stuff, that's out the window. What I'm trying to grasp my head around is why Lee Cole is so derogatory towards Monty and the channel and all that.
Because Lee Cole just threw as much shit last night against the wall as possible, hoping some of it would stick. But, none of it really. There was no substance to anything he said. I mean, the other thing he said was, as far as Vince McMahon, no executive in the history of this country has ever, done the kind of things that Vince McMahon did. And I replied right in the back in the chat room that, I need to remind you that the president of the United States got a blowjob, on taxpayer time in the Oval Office. And then the next week he went on TV, he looked us all right in the eye. And what did he say? I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. So no, there's a precedence for this, Lee. I hate to remind you that you didn't.
I'm just dumbfounded by the whole thing.
Look, I think Lee felt you opened up with loyalty, right, Joe?
Okay. Yeah.
I think Lee felt I was being disloyal, and what I explained to him when Gerard was coming on was that if you're going to take this, whether we know this or not, and this isn't trying to pat anybody on the back. Once you start doing this, you have to have some journalistic integrity. Okay.
Fair and balanced.
And if you sell it to your agenda, which many people do, we know this, right? This is not what Jimmy and I do. This is not what Benny and Dan do. This is not what a day Joe does.
You put it out there, it's out there forever. So yeah, I mean, you're linked to it forever.
You want to have some integrity in life. Again, I don't know. Obviously, Lee knows more than me. I never went to WrestleMania. I never got Vince McMahon to give me 20 grand. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But what I do know is this. I do know that Mel Phillips, Pat Patterson, and Terry Garvin weren't arrested. And at that time, in the WWE, they were looking for Vince McMahon. They were all over him, the government. And, I'm not saying something didn't go or did or didn't. All I'm saying is in the real court of life, they did nothing happen to those gentlemen, right?
Back then the company was private. So all bets are off. I mean, Vince could have paid a lot of money out to everybody to keep this thing hushed. We don't know that. We'll never possibly never know that and so forth. A lot of hearsay, it sounds like, on this guy Lee's behalf that, okay, that's great. You got 20 grand, you got hush money. Is that all he's going to live off of now? Is that it? I mean, do we have canned checks? Do we have anything else?
Gerard said that he heard the conversation between Tom Cole and Mel Phillips. Okay. Again, we weren't there. This is what Gerard is saying.
Okay.
And the only point that Jimmy and I made was hopefully not. But if Tom Cole did lie because he was angry and wanted money, he destroyed Mel Phillips' life. Okay, let's play a little counterpoint to you guys, right? So you guys know who John Arezzi is. He was in studio. John Arezzi's like the godfather of like the signs, Sal Corrente too. But for this conversation, John Arezzi, Bruno Sammartino, superstar Billy Graham, Dave Mushnick, right? Maybe. They all believe that this ring boy thing was going on. What are your thoughts about, especially Graham? I don't want to put a Rizzi and Graham and Sammartino's level, so don't misquote me on that. But why would all three of them be pro this ring boy thing happened?
They might have known more than what we know. That's the first and foremost thing. This is that thing that's what they call strength in numbers and so forth. If we all agree to say this and we come out in a big front and we say it all together and at the same time, then it's going to be believable. And in that case, we don't know. I mean, do we really know what really happened in all of this? We know there was an investigation. We know nobody got arrested. We do know Mel Phillips ended up losing his job. I think Gerard said that it was a mutual decision that he was let go or something like that. He wasn't fired.
He was paid. Right? He was paid a sum of $800,000.
So he got a severance. So he's got a severance.
He got a severance of $800,000, which I guess he lost instantaneously because I don't know, maybe he owed taxes.
But nothing went to court. Nobody got arrested. There was no legal stature with all this. So this was basically private WWF, let's call it like it is. I know they're WWE now, but pre-WWF, where it was a private company, Vince could do basically whatever he wanted to do. And, threw a bunch of money at everybody, said, please shut the hell up. I'm trying to get through my own investigation and all that. And that's probably what happened. It's a tough situation because, like I said, when you get 4 or 5 people that come out and say the same thing at the same time, then you're like, okay, well, it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, it's 4 or 5 people that are coming forward. It's very easy. It's like being at a bar room. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, let's ask my buddy over here. He saw it all happen. Oh, right. I saw it happen. Oh, ask my buddy over there. And then you get the third guy would come and he goes like, that didn't happen. I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, that was last weekend. That wasn't 2 years ago. It's that type of mentality right now. And I don't know why Lee is trying to live off this, but that's Lee. That's his mind. He seems like a very angry person now, especially if he's taking it out on you guys. So,
let me throw this at play, right? Huge Bruno Sammartino guy, right? So, why do you feel Sammartino came out and said that this ring boy scandal was going on? And then I'll even go a little further to both of you guys.
Sure.
Who's Lee's partner? What was that guy? Is that Snake Eyes? What was his name, Benny?
Oh God!
Oh my God! Baby Snakes.
Something like that.
The other guy, the mob guy from the Mob channel. I can't remember his name, but anyway,
the guy who looked like he was on dueling playing the banjo in the movie Deliverance.
So he said earlier when Lee was first on the show that you can't blame the wrestlers because they want to keep their jobs.
Sure.
And my point to Lee and whoever else will hear it, I've challenged anybody that's brought up the Ring Boy scandal that I felt Sammartino and Superstar Gorilla Billy Graham, if they did know about this, they're equally as responsible. Okay, I understand you want to keep your job, but where's your morality? Don't go on Donahue after you lost your job and then start spewing all this bullshit, right? It's like, where were you? So I ask you, Benny, where was Bruno?
I don't know the timeline. Because Bruno, I think, was gone.
What, 92? Was it
92, 93? No, Bruno was gone in 87.
Right. No, I know.
Bruno came back in like 84 to kind of help his son David get over, and then he went from broadcast.
I saw him at the Garden in 86, so it had to have been after that.
Right. It was. I think his last match was somewhere in late 87. But I honestly think, I think at that point, and even the same thing with Superstar. I think they were both so far removed from the action that all they really had was hearsay. And, I remember that game we played when we were a kid where, like, you have, like, 10 kids in a circle and you whisper to each other and the first person whispers something. And then by the time it gets to the 10th kid, it's something completely different. And I think that's what we have here. I mean, and Phil said it in the chat room, that song by REO Speedwagon. I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend.
All right, but so let me cut you off on this then. So you're saying that they didn't really know. So then by them going on Donahue and acting like they know, aren't they just as guilty as Vince McMahon shitting on a lady's head? Because they're trying to ruin Vince McMahon's life, aren't they? They're lying. Now they're going off of hearsay.
Right. Now, do I think that Bruno and Billy despise Vince McMahon? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, do I think they had firsthand knowledge? I don't think so. I think, I do think that when they went on there, I think it was more sensational. It was more sizzle than steak.
Wasn't this all stemming from a class action lawsuit as well? Coming after that? Yeah. So, I mean, I do know, I love Bruno Sammartino. Greatest, I loved him. I was grateful that I was able to see him wrestle before he officially retired after 86 and so forth. I was glad I got that chance. Superstar Billy Graham, the same thing. I think they were very, very outspoken against Vince McMahon because they were not big fans of how the sport turned. It turned into that circus. It turned into that Hollywood Hulk Hogan steroid era where there was no integrity in the sport anymore. And I think that's what a lot of it had to do with it. Did they know more than us? They should. They were in the industry. They were in the locker rooms. They traveled the roads, the same roads that these ring boys and everybody else traveled. Yeah, they should know. Dude, why aren't there sworn affidavits or anything like that back then saying that this happened? I'm upholding the law here. I'm swearing on the Bible and I'm telling the truth and so forth. Why don't we see that type of stuff? But we don't. So I think there might have been some animosity towards Vince McMahon, with Graham. I mean, I think Graham, I remember him being on the Donahue show and he was pointing at Vince and just yelling at him and Bruno. It was like a gang up attack. And then part of me in the back of my head said, Vince is freaking loving every minute of this because Vince thinks it's really good for the company to get
Vince
this.
Is here in the cash register.
Yeah. Phil Donahue, highest ratings in the afternoon, all these. That's the first time I think I knew who Dave Meltzer was.
How does someone say that Vince McMahon, who's all the way up here, and this stuff's going way down here, is the one that should be responsible for it? But the wrestlers who claim they knew this was going on and they didn't do anything, how are they not responsible? Isn't there a point where someone should be responsible to have some decent morality? And again, this is not to disparage Bruno Sammartino or Superstar Billy Graham.
Mike,
but you know what? If you're going to play, good.
You got to look at the locker room, though. If you want to really do that, who were the active wrestlers at that time? When this was all, quote unquote happening, allegedly happening, we'll say. Who were the active wrestlers and why didn't any of them, come forward? Bruno and Billy Graham, they were already gone. They were gone, they were gone.
That's why I mentioned the animosity towards Vince McMahon.
Right. And do I think they both had personal vendettas against Vince Jr.? Absolutely. Probably against Vince Sr. But I think we really got to take a hard look. As far as people being directly responsible, who were the wrestlers every 300 nights a year in the locker rooms when this was supposedly
Mr.
happening?
Perfect, Kurt Hennig, the British Bulldog. You had all those guys. So
yeah, those guys.
Jim Duggan.
Can I also give you guys some hard facts?
Sure.
Mel Phillips was born February 8th, 1950.
Okay.
He started in the WWE, call it 1970. All right. I'm not great with dates, okay, but I have a timeline. 22 years to finally get caught. That's a long time. If that is the case. 22 years, no one caught on to this after 22 years, except for one ring boy. How many ring boys went through the circuit?
I'm sure. Yeah.
And again, I read that article where they said they wrestled and he pulled my toes.
Okay. Could have pulled my finger. What's the difference?
I don't know. And again, I want to make this clear. People are going to go, "Oh, they're defending Mel Phillips." No, we're not.
We're not defending
we're asking questions.
To get to the truth, you got to get the facts. And if that's part of the truth, then fine. He was pulling his toes, but were they wrestling? What was he over 18? I don't. This is where I'm confused on this. Why this is such a major issue now is if these people were of age at the time. Yeah, it's crazy behavior. Don't get me wrong. But look at the atmosphere you're in. It's a traveling circus. You're going to get this. I was just commenting the other day. I remember when Tonga Kid came into the WWF, he was 17 years old, and he was constantly getting kicked out of the locker rooms because he was too damn immature. And he's running around the Boston, right after the Boston Garden matches in his island gear, and he overdid his blade job, and he's got gauze wrapped around his head, and he's acting like a lunatic. And it's like, you don't hear those stories, but I saw those. I just don't understand why nobody has come forward there's no concrete evidence. If there's this many people involved, where is the evidence that states this really happened on this date? I have it. There's proof. There's affidavits. There's legal documentation. We got nothing. We got he said. This is no different than a barroom conversation.
We're getting off track here, though, I think, because the name of this show is called Unmasking the Devil. And I think we need to concentrate on that. And again, if anybody who watched that show last night, I watched it. I watched the first 70 minutes of it. And I was horrified because in 70 minutes, I heard nothing, not one thing that I could say, you know what? He's got a point there. Not one thing. all I heard was him calling Mike a scumbag, you know, and the things that he said, everything he said was bullshit. Like I'm trying to think of what Vincent LaGuardia Gambini. Everything that guy just said is bullshit.
Was he looking at the camera when he was saying this, or was he looking down at the viewership to see every time he called Mike a name?
Yeah, he was counting his viewers, like, you know, the sheeples who were you know, kissing his ass. But what did he say? He said nothing, and everything he said. I mean, he tried to, you know, the allegation that Vince McMahon was responsible for Chris Benoit dying. Where do you get that? He said, I mean, he threw it out there, but then he said nothing to even, you know, come remotely close to backing it up. And the sad part is, you know, all these people are following this guy, and nobody's even trying to, like, the people who did try to rebut him, were like Bruce and I, were either put in time out or ignored.
Yeah, here is some hard. You want to let's unmask the devil.
Sure.
Okay. The Cole family, the sisters, the brothers, they grew up in a broken home. Okay, totally understand. I get that. So easy targets. Lee Cole, okay, took $20,000 from Vince McMahon. Lee Cole and the Cole family went to WrestleMania and sat with Linda McMahon. Tom Cole sat next to Linda McMahon and Miss Elizabeth during that Donahue taping. Right? These are facts. Lee Cole went to jail for a substantial amount of time. Right? I'm sorry.
What did he go to jail for? That's one thing I don't know.
Yeah. What did he go to
you know
jail
what? I think I know, but I'm not going to dare say it here because that would be like. But again, when you go to jail, that is a character trait. That's a character problem. In fact, if you have a felony, it's very difficult to get a job when you get out of jail. If anyone doesn't know that, I've never been in jail, but that's what I've heard. Okay. So again, the credibility of Lee is zero. But the hatred for Vince McMahon is very high. So if you go anti-Vince McMahon, you've got a ton of people that are just willing to go aboard. So Lee also said that we never had as many viewers ever until he was on our show. No. In fact, Lee, I'll make it clear. No one knew who you were until you came on our show. I'm not talking this last time. I'm talking the first time. No one knew you. No one cared. We made people care about you. Okay. Right. We made you. And that is a fact. Congratulations. He did great with his mob channel. I'm happy for him. I don't dislike Lee Cole. I want to make that clear. I do not dislike him. Right. But I will say this. Lee showed his true colors when I was bringing Gerard onto the show. He clearly showed his true colors.
Well, he was threatened. He was threatened by it. That's why.
And he threatened me. He actually threatened me.
That's what happens when you get angry. Yeah, I hear you.
Well, there you go. So again, unless you have something to hide, why would you get so? Look, obviously you lost your brother. I understand your anger there. I get it. But you know what? You're building your show around the death and suicide of your brother. And let's not lose these facts. I'm no doctor. But I think when you get brain cancer, I don't think the brain really works that well, right?
No.
So I think maybe delusions and suicidal thoughts would be a little more rampant in your mind during that time. I'm only speculating. I'm no doctor, but that's what I would think. Is that enough to unmask him, Benny? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, we all have our opinions, of course. And mine, from everything I've heard from this guy, is that he's not a good person, and he's using a tragedy involving his own family to profit. And that's one of the most, I would say, despicable things you could possibly do in life. Hashtag,
are you thy brother's keeper? Is he his brother's keeper? Is he following the Bible? Is he showing his brother in a great light? Now he's bringing it out. Now we're questioning whether his brother's a liar. You see what's happening now? Yeah. Where this man should rest in peace, Tom Cole.
Yeah.
You are now starting to drudge up stuff where people are starting to question whether Tom Cole got angry over losing his job, right? And was a liar. And now maybe Mel Phillips is starting to become the Listen, people are writing now. They're second guessing. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. This is what you're doing. Are you thy brother's keeper, Lee? No, you are not. You are disparaging your own brother's name at this point. And you may get angry at this statement, but you know it to be true. You are taking your brother for the gain of money. You know what you're doing, and it's a mistake. Again, another lie he told. This podcast cost a lot of money. How much does StreamYard cost, Joe?
Not a lot of money, especially the high def version, which I have. $40 a month. $40 a month for high def. I mean,
so there you go. There you go. I don't know what a lot of money is here, man, but you know, and it's not actually greatly produced, unlike the shows that you produce, Joe and Benny. Right? It was just like this. This is a basic show right here. Put a time thing, and here we go. There's no pictures. There's no nothing. So again, more lies.
Right.
We're going to invest back into the show. No, you're not. You're going to take the money and do what you want with it. Are you thy brother's keeper, Lee? I'm looking at you in the camera. Are you really thy brother's keeper? No. No, you're not. You are using your brother. Shame on you, Lee. And again, I like you, Lee. I like you, Lee.
Yeah, it sounds like his anger is destroying his brother's legacy, if there ever is one. I don't know Lee. I didn't know Tom, but if I had a brother who had passed away by suicide and so forth, I'd want to do something positive in this life to keep his memory alive and that type of stature. You know, you go back to the cancer. If you had brain cancer, you get a little. My first wife passed away of cancer. She was 30. I was 27. And it spread to her brain towards the end, and she was neurologically gone. So I get that aspect of it and so forth, but I'm not going to go on TV and say everything that's wrong with this world. And you know, Vince McMahon killed my wife, or Vince McMahon killed my brother. I mean, the industry is the industry. Just because Vince is the face of the industry, and like you said, Mike, he can't keep tabs on every state, every ring crew, every road agent, and so forth. I mean, he created a huge company. Of course, he can't keep track of all that stuff. I mean, unmasking Lee Cole, the devil. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like his anger is so misdirected that he needs to concentrate more. He needs to look within. He needs to look within himself to see where the anger is coming from. If you want viewership, Lee, talk about the good stuff about your brother. People will listen to that. No one's going to keep gravitating to the same old thing. And if Vince McMahon didn't have this lawsuit going on, would this even be an issue right now?
No,
is he capitalizing on this because of the Vince issue? Did this issue, was it such a hot topic before January 25th when Janelle Grant filed the 67-page lawsuit against him? I don't think so either. I don't know this guy. I pray for this guy. I hope he does. I hope he can rectify the situation. But it sounds like he's just more interested in, you know, paying a lot for a podcast and getting a lot of viewers from what I get. I don't know.
Again, we all have our opinions, and you know, Joe used the word angry. I don't think the guy's even angry. I think he's a carny. I think he's a gravy trainer. He found something that he can jump on that, you know, potentially can make him some money.
What, he's a ham and egger? He's a ham and
egger. I mean, he's bringing his poor dead brother, God rest his soul, into this. I mean, again, I'm going to use the word despicable. I think it's horrible.
Don't take it the wrong way, but if you take away his brother in the situation, where's Lee Cole today? You know what I mean? We wouldn't be having this conversation on a Sunday night. So, yeah, you know, his brother, he should use his brother's death or remembrance in a good, positive way and do something good instead of going on a show on a Saturday night. And was this guy drinking? Was he under the influence when this was taking place? We don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to check this out now.
Like I said,
this rant, 70 minutes of ranting. I mean, that's a long time.
I listened to it very closely, and I was kind of hoping he would say one thing that I would think, you know, I got to check that out. That sounds interesting. That if that's true, man, I got to really, you know, reassess my position. There was nothing remotely close to anything like that.
Yeah, Mike, we've been on the air 47 minutes now, a little under, and you've stated more facts about this situation, the Ring Boy scandal and all that stuff, than this sounds like this guy would ever do on a 70-minute podcast from last night.
I recommend to anybody watching this or any of Lee Cole's fans to go see on our channel his sister, Miss Messina, who speaks very intelligently, very directly. And I will tell you this. clearly on that interview, she doesn't have a relationship with Lee. She didn't downplay it, like put him down, but she clearly says he lives his life one way, I live my life another.
Are they estranged?
Her point in this interview was, if I don't know if they're estranged, because Lee's the one that hooked me up with her, so I don't know. But I will say this. We asked her the same questions we asked Lee. What happened, whatever. All she said was, this goes not on in just in wrestling. It goes on all over the place. And if these people are guilty, they should pay for it. Right. And I will tell you, if Mel Phillips did this, he paid for it. He lost his dream job. He was destitute, and he died a lonely man. So he got he got what he was going to get. Again, back to Jimmy, because it stuck with me. I couldn't even sleep that night. If this was a lie, someone destroyed Mel Phillips' life. Yeah. And it's not forgivable, man.
Either way, lives have destroyed. It sounds like either way.
Either way.
And you try and play that devil's advocate, and it's nearly impossible when you don't have solid facts and documentation and so forth. It's just we're all going on somebody's word, or something was overheard, or something said, and we can interview everybody that's in the room and so forth, and you're still going to get a different story every time. It's like that old thing where you tell a secret to one guy, pass it on, the bird is blue on one thing, and next down there, the hawk is green down the end. And it's like two different things. People just listen to what they want to listen to. And that's the problem with society. That's why there is I don't want to say a legal system, but there are legal documents out there to put those words into a context where it is perfectly understandable on both sides of the aisle that what this person is saying is meant to be the truth. And we don't have that. We just have the hearsay part. That's what kills me.
The guy is an opportunist, again, in my opinion. If the Vince McMahon scandal was not in existence, this guy would be working at Wally's Falafel World, making gyros. He found something he could jump on, and he's riding it to the hilt, and which is if you want to do that, that's fine, but don't bring your own flesh and blood into it. That's where I have a problem.
How long ago did you get the $20,000, Mike? How long ago was
that? I think right at the time this whole Tom Cole scandal was going on. I want to share something that Gerard just sent me. I've heard from multiple ex-WWF employees thanking me for finally telling my side because I was around Mel the most.
There you go.
Again, let me ask you guys this. We're almost out of time, and we got to go watch. There's a whole bunch of stuff to watch. But anyway, what does it say about society that the audience is bloodthirsty for this stuff? Like, at what point do you feel good if Mel Phillips was done wrong or Tom Cole was done wrong? This is not a feel-good story at all, no matter how you slice it or dice it.
Yeah.
And at what point, again, I'll say it, and I'm turning it over to you guys, does someone turn to Lee Cole and say, are you thy brother's keeper? You are putting your brother out there like a friggin' piñata. And as people hit it, the money pours into your pocket. Congratulations. Are you thy brother's keeper? Go ahead, Benny.
If the guy said, all proceeds, from my podcast will be donated to, I don't know, like name a charity, brain cancer or, sexual abuse, I might have a modicum of respect for the guy. But all this is to me is, it's a cash grab. I could not be convinced otherwise, because everything that all his actions point towards it, pure and simple.
Sure. Yeah, I agree there. I mean, are you thy brother's keeper? Absolutely not. Not in this situation. If you were, you'd have the support of your family and your friends and so forth. You wouldn't have bloodthirsty viewership who are looking to feed off the negativity and all this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense. And to go back to your question, Mike, are there people that bloodthirsty for that? Hell, yeah, they are. Right now they are, because Vince McMahon's in the headlines with the lawsuit. And everybody wants to bring down Vince McMahon. This is what I've been saying all along. This WrestleMania is going to be the worst WrestleMania. I don't care what happens. There's a black cloud over the WWE right now, and everybody's trying to cash in on it. And now you get a Ring Boy scandal that happened years and years ago that's now being trounced back up. The Ashley Mazzaro thing, same thing. Everybody's trying to talk about that again and all that. And the NCIS closed that case because they couldn't find any factual proof.
Can I cut you off there? We never spoke about the Ashley situation.
Yeah.
We all saw that girl that was on, right?
Oh, yeah.
She actually was in me and Jimmy's high school. We didn't know her, so I don't want to claim to know her. She was younger than us.
Cara Pipia or something like that.
Cara Pipia, right?
Cara Pipia.
What were your thoughts about the blood hunters coming out, bringing up this Ashley Massaro thing yet again? Do you think that Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, because according to Lee, another lie, he knows what went on back there. He was back there. He knows what Stephanie spoke to Ashley about and what they did to Ashley. I mean, it's insanity at this point. But
where's his deposition? Yeah.
well, according to him, he just got called in from the government. I made some checks. This is not the case. So it's more bullshit. But and I have those facts and I can produce them at any time. But thoughts on Ashley Massaro? Did the WWE try to hide this? And I'll just share my train of thought. Very tough situation. You're dealing with the U.S. military.
Yeah.
It's a very dicey situation with a lady who had some substance abuse issues, right? This is clear. And I'm not victim shaming here.
No.
All I'm saying is, what are your guys' thoughts on it?
I think first of all, the biggest question I had when the affidavit was re-released is like, why are they bringing this up now? And John Laurinaitis' name kept popping up. So whether his crew fed this to the press or not, I have no idea. My thing is, if something like this, her detailed account of this situation was so vivid, I'm sorry, but if that took place and then supposedly Gary Hart carried her out of the room and said, he banged on the door and got her and all that stuff. If that was really the case, even an investigation now would show something to that effect. And reading NCIS's report that was just released yesterday, there was no accounts matching up. The only thing that was accounted for was her time in Kuwait was with WWE that coincides with this alleged attack. Did it happen? I don't know. Did it happen? I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. We have one person who's no longer with us saying one thing in a sworn affidavit. Was there an investigation? I don't know now, because you have this Cara girl that went on and said, yeah, even Stephanie was in the room, when clearly in Ashley Mazzaro's affidavit, Stephanie was not in the room. It was a bunch of men that were in the room and doing the investigation. So right there, you're already questioning, who's telling the truth and who's not. I personally saw the interview on News Nation that night, and I didn't find her credible at all. And it didn't take long for her daughter.
Should News Nation be responsible for even putting her on?
Yes.
Like, at what point are you not liable? What do you think, Benny?
10 o'clock at night.
You need to vet your guests.
Did you see how shocked the late Ashley Banfield was when she heard this? As Cara was describing what Ashley was describing in the affidavit and what happened in Kuwait, the lady was like, she thought she had breaking news on her hand. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And if that was really the case, your investigators would be doing some more investigating on the person that's making these claims, because I didn't find her credible at all. I mean,
well, the thing that was credible was maybe the pipe burn on her lip. You know what I mean? At least cover that up before the interview.
Yeah,
but, holy Christ almighty.
Again, Mike, another opportunist, in my opinion. Where was this lady the last several years? Another one jumping on the bandwagon when now you have your chance. I got my chance to get my 15 seconds of fame, at the expense of my friend Ashley. But where was she before this?
Where was the affidavit before this Vince McMahon scandal came out? Why all of a sudden was it dropped in the press's lap again? When this affidavit is from 2017, it was brought to court in 2019 and then buried. And here it is. Vince McMahon has a major scandal. John Laurinaitis' name's involved. And here comes the affidavit again. Like, okay. And now the NCIS is going to follow up with an investigation because John Laurinaitis is trying to cover his tracks now.
Yeah. And let's not forget that Ashley's own daughter came out saying that this lady was harassing her. And that was all right. So before we go, here's my final question to you guys, and this is probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
Does Lee Cole have a responsibility to his nieces at this point, drudging up his brother's name yet again? You know, there are children involved. There is a wife involved. What do you feel about that?
Will he? No. Should he? Yes. You know, like to me, you know, truth speaks volumes. In this day and age, everyone loves a comeback story and all that stuff. I don't know Lee Cole personally and so forth. I feel like I know him more now than ever, just based on what I've heard in the last 24 hours. If he's really that vindictive where he's got to make money off his deceased brother and in this type of fashion, there's going to be no room for him down the line. It'll be all shock and awe at the beginning. But when the holes in the story start to ping through and the truth is finally brought to the surface, I don't think he has, you know, he's not going to have a podcast anymore if that's the case. And, you know, he can gloat all he wants about all these numbers that he had and all these viewerships. But the bottom line, the truth will come out. And Monty and the Pharaoh will still be Monty and the Pharaoh, and will still be providing people with journalistic integrity reporting. So that's my opinion. Benny, what do you got?
I think, you know, he's faking righteous indignation where in reality he's got an entirely different agenda. And I think, you know, the victims here are his, you know, Tom Cole's daughters. I don't think they want to hear any of this shit. They really don't. I mean, I guarantee you they have major issues with Lee Cole, and they just want him to go away because this is not helping his legacy. You know, they want to remember the good times with their father. They don't want anybody drudging this stuff up.
Exactly.
My opinion, anyway.
No, I totally agree.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us this Thursday, this Sunday.
Nice
sorry. And I want to thank you guys for coming on at so short notice, considering what happened. You guys did a fantastic job, as always.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for
having us. A few things to announce on our end. We got Thursday's show on our end, and you guys announce what's coming up on your end. We do have on March 16th, actually March 15th, we got Chuck Palumbo in studio. And then March 16th, we have Jerry the King Lawler in studio, and then Andre the Giant's daughter. So it should be fun. And Jimmy will be coming from Florida. He'll be live in studio in New York. So he'll be at the big event with us. So it should be fun. What do you guys got coming up?
Big night tomorrow night, Benny. Yeah.
Good, Joe.
No, it's your show. You go for it.
All right. Well, we got, you know, tomorrow night on True Crime with the Bad Girl and the Player. We have, we're going to, Joe, Phil, myself, and the Boston Bad Girl, Brittany Brown, are going to talk about the case of Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, which should be very, very fascinating. We're going to, you know, incorporate the views of your guest, Mr. Caparelli. I think his name is Dr. Caparelli.
Thank you.
Show. That was an amazing interview. I listened to every second of that yesterday, and it just, I mean, if anybody has not heard that, you're doing yourself an injustice. And then on Dan and Benny in the Ring on Tuesday night, we have Jan Finkel, who is a great author. He has a book about Randy Savage coming out next month, but he's written a number of books about mostly basketball and football. He even did a book where he rates the 48 presidents in terms of athletic ability. So I think when I get a spare moment, that should be a very interesting read.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And Joe, we saw you on Stu's Pro Wrestling broadcast. We're big fans of Stu's over here. Well done. Great interview. I enjoyed it. I listened to the whole thing while I was at the gym. Well done, sir. Yep.
I loved how he yelled at me when I said I had to get up at 3 a.m. for a pay-per-view. And he's like, we've been doing that for years. And I still had to do my podcast with him at 8:30 in the morning. So you talk about waking up, having a cup of coffee, and hitting the light switch. So it was good. Tomorrow night we got True Crime. I'll be producing that show, so hopefully people can tune into that. Son of Sam. I've been doing some research on that today, and some of the photos we got are incredible. Of course, I got my show What a Day in Centerville live. That'll be Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock Central time. And of course, I'm going to try and reclaim my crown Thursday night on the 30 Wrestling's hottest wrestling
reigning champion right here.
Nice.
Anybody in the chat? I think most people tune in, but tell your friends because this is going to be a barn burner on Thursday.
Quick question before you go, and this was the question I have.
Sure.
should David Berkowitz, considering his retribution or his turning to Christ, be forgiven? Tough questions here tonight, but it falls in the unmasking the devil, right?
As a Christian, we're told to forgive. And I believe that, if he truly is sincere in his, salvation and his repentance, then he's forgiven by Christ, and then he should be forgiven by us as well.
That's a tough one. I'm in the middle of my research on this now, and some of the lies he told, defending himself and so forth, that goes a long way. That's great. Unfortunately, some people have to have the 4 walls, be surrounded by 4 walls to find Christ and all that stuff. So, I mean, if he's really truthfully the guy that he proclaims to be now, that should be something up to a probation, parole board should, listen to.
Interesting fact, though, is he has turned down all requests for parole. He won't even, or he'll go, or he'll waive them in most cases. The reason why I do believe that and we'll talk about this tomorrow night, that his salvation is sincere, is that he, quote unquote, gave his life to the Lord in 1987. And by all accounts, he's been heavily involved in prison ministry ever since then. So we're talking, typically, and Dr. Caparelli said it on the show, was that, your typical quote unquote safe person in jail, their shelf life is 6 months. Usually it's just it's a thing with them, but 6 months later, they're back to their old ways, where in this case, Berkowitz has remained consistent. He's mentored other prisoners. He's been active in the prison ministry. He's actually written stories that he has sent to evangelical websites. So, I mean, that's going to be one of the questions tomorrow: work or shoot, as far as Berkowitz's salvation. I'm saying shoot.
Some people excel on the inside as opposed to being on the outside. So it's all about.
I'm going to say this guy's sincere.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it tomorrow night. It should be a lively conversation. So,
all right, guys, you've been watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast with special guest What a Day Joe and the Player. We want to thank you. We'll see you tomorrow for True Crime. And Lee Cole, are you thy brother's keeper?